All right, today we're going to talk about how you can anneal metal. Annealing metal is a way to make it more malleable. So basically you heat the metal until it turns red hot, and then you can form it, you can shape it more easily, and you can put texture into it a lot easier. So usually you would grab a piece of metal, you would anneal it, then you'd work with it, and the working with it with like a hammer would work harden it, and then you might have to anneal it again. So different metals react to annealing differently. Copper and brass work pretty well. Copper is definitely the best. It becomes really soft and bendable when it is heated up. Nickel silver doesn't really form as easily. So if you're a person that is using nickel, just know that it doesn't work as well for extreme bends. So we have those three. I'm just going to kind of show you and walk you through the process. Some safety things when you're using the torch. You need to have glasses on, either your own glasses or safety glasses. Hair has to be back, and if you have any loose scarves or anything, you just want to get those out of the way. All right, the torch. This is the torch. It's got a red hose that connects to our acetylene gas tank. I'll always be the one that turns that on. If I'm not here, then you just won't be using the torch that day. There's a knob right here which releases gas if I turn it on, and you can hear it when I turn it on, so the gas comes out. The more gas, the bigger the flame. Right here is the connection. This is how I can put different tips in. This is the one that we use most often. Just creates kind of a medium-sized flame. And then what you see here, these are soft bricks. We have a bunch piled up. Basically, this is a really nice surface that you can heat your metal on. You can also dig into them if you need. And they are heat bricks, so they just reflect the heat on whatever you're heating. All right, so when you're using the torch, a couple other things too. We do need a striker. So a striker just has a little piece in there. I'll show you up a little closer. So this is your flint right here at the end. And in here, there's kind of a metal piece that's got a lot of texture. So when I do press it, you get a little bit of a flame or a little spark. Okay, so we're gonna start. So I'm going to start with my torch. I'm just going to pull the knob back towards me a little bit. If I hear it's really loud, I'm just going to turn it so it's a little quieter because I don't need a big flame, especially at first. Now, at first, this is hard to do both of those tasks at the same time, holding the torch and doing the lighting. But in this case, I was able to do it. You can always ask for help with this one too. All right, so when we look at the flame, the hottest part of the flame is at the very end of the blue, at the very end of the blue cone. So right in this area is our hottest point. So that's kind of the part that you usually want to use just to kind of heat your metal. So I'm going to turn this a little so you can see it. I'm going to start with the copper, which remember is the most malleable. And I'm just kind of going over it and around. I'll see it get to this dark red. Let me try and move it even a little closer. I'll see it get to this kind of dark red, and when it just gets to that bright red, that's when I want to stop. That's how I know it's annealed. If I go too far, I might melt it. Now I'm going to do my nickel silver, which remember doesn't quite get as much, it's not as malleable when you anneal it. It's still good to do though if you are going to bend the metal. It also makes, it gets a little bit dark from going through the pickle and being heated, so you have to do some more cleanup on it. Last one, this is our brass. It's the biggest piece, so it's going to take the longest to heat. And if you notice, it just turned that like dull, dark red. All right, so turning off the torch. Once again, I'm just going to pull back on, or go forward on the knob just a little bit. You hear that little pop. That just means that the gas is shutting off, so the flame disappears. And then I am ready for my next part. Basically, I would let these cool on the brick for a minute or so. And then I can take these handy copper tongs and I would pick up the pieces one by one and I would put them in what we have that's called the pickle, which is in this crock pot at the end of the counter over here, which you'll see. Basically, the pickle is a really, really mild acid. It's so mild you could stick your finger in it and you're going to be fine. If you have a cut, it might burn a little bit. It's not good for your skin, but it's not something to be really scared of. And you would just put this in, let it sit for a few minutes in the pickle. You can always check it if you're not sure. And it usually cleans off a lot of the soot from heating the metal. So you can see this was our piece of copper. It's got quite a lot of grime on it. Our brass doesn't really look like brass anymore either. And so the pickle is just a way to kind of clean off some of the metal, and then you have to do other cleaning stuff. All right, so this copper one has been sitting the longest. I think it's ready. I'm gonna put it in the pickle, so I'm gonna just show you how that goes. All right, so the pickle is right over here in the crock pot. Usually it's on, so it's warm. It just works better when it's warm. So what I would do is I'd take my metal, I'd place it in. Once it's cooled, if you put it in when it's hot, it will go tsh and splash, which nobody wants. So I would just drop it in. I'd give it a few minutes. I'd come back. I can fish it out once again with the copper tongs. And already, just from those few moments in there, you'll see it's starting to get back to its regular finish. Now, before I go away with this, I would just take and dunk it in this basin, which just has water in it. And then at that point, I can touch it with my hands again. So this being the copper and the most malleable, you can see I can literally just bend it with my hands if I want to now. All right, so those are the basics when it comes to annealing your metal. Yeah, can't wait to have you try it.